fly. So that's real great. So I saw an article today, Calvin, come out that says Luke Walton is on the hot seat. I know this win tonight, I guess, settles some fans, but it doesn't really do much in the long term, considering you're playing the Detroit Pistons. You're on a 4-game losing streak. It has to end sometime, right? So it ends against the worst team in the league. So I want to know how you're feeling about that because, we talked about potential coaches to replace him in the last podcast. We talked about some things we liked and some things we didn't like about Luke Walton. So I just want to know how you're feeling about him this report or after this report came out and all this new information and whether you're on board with him right now.
Well, he should be on the hot seat. He absolutely should be. This team's underperformed this season. I think most people agree they underperformed last season. By how much, that's another argument for another day, but it's still underperforming. And I've never seen Luke Walton as the long-term coach of this team from the moment he was hired. I think he's done some good things. Mm-hmm. If your best players all really like playing for you, that's a good thing.
Positive.
But that's all I got, really. I mean, I've seen enough from him to where, I wish Luke could stay on as an assistant because I really do think that he's a good play caller. I think he has a lot of good things to bring to an NBA team. He's got way more basketball experience, than the average head coach because he played in the league for so long. Mm-hmm. His dad is one of the greatest players of all time.
He was a pretty shitty player in the league.
He was a shitty player in the league, but he played on some fantastic teams for some really good coaches. His experience level just is to a point where, a lot of these other guys, you don't even have an opportunity to get the type of experience that he's gotten in his life in basketball. So I do think that there's a place for him, in the league. And I like I said, I would like to see him maybe stay on as an assistant in some role or capacity, but I don't think that head coach is the right fit.
I mean, in his defense, there's not many young head coaches that have coached Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and LeBron James.
That's true, but those are the players that also don't really need head coaches.
Yeah. If you have a player like that on your team, he runs the franchise. And the Kings, unfortunately, don't have a player like that. As much as I love all the players on our roster, we don't have a surefire superstar that's going to take over games, and he's going to say it's my way or the highway. And that's one of our biggest needs, right, for this team that we've been talking about. I think you hit it right on the head, points in the paint, 64-48 tonight. I thought that was huge for the Kings, 16 fast break points. We talked about them shooting well from three-point range, but they only shot 33 threes tonight, which in today's NBA is not a lot.
Only 33.
Yeah, it's not a lot. You look, Metu shot 6 threes, which is a lot for him. Harrison Barnes only had 3 tonight. We talked about Walton wants him shooting 8 per night, so that's 5 under for him. 0 for Holmes, which is correct. 2 of 3 for Fox. He shot well. 1 for 4 for Fox. 3 for 3 for Haliburton. He shot great from three-point range.
Yes, he did.
And then 6 for 10 for Buddy Hield tonight. I'm moving towards this camp where the Kings need to get more points in the paint. They need to shoot less threes. Maybe they need to play a little bit bigger. I saw more minutes from Metu tonight. I saw more minutes from Tristan Thompson. We didn't even see Mo Harkless tonight. So that just makes me think, is this Kings team better off playing bigger now that they have some guys on this team that can actually play defense? Maybe you play big, you try and get stops, and then you cherish your possessions on the other side of the court. You run the half-court offense with Tyrese Haliburton. You have De'Aaron Fox cutting the basket. And then when you do get those occasional turnovers, that's when you get your fast break points. So you're running the floor. You're not you're not throwing stupid passes like they were earlier on in the season. You're taking better care of the ball, and then you're playing defense with this bigger lineup. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I'm not so sure if it's necessarily they have to play bigger. I mean, yes, Metu is a little bit taller than Mo Harkless, but I don't know if he has enough or the same reach that Mo Harkless does. It's not like he's, this huge dominating force inside who backs people down in the paint or anything like that. I think it's just finding the right mix of guys to play the style that this team should be playing. And I've said a lot, they need to play faster. They need to look to get out and run more, which they did tonight. Mm-hmm. And Metu has been a big part of that. He's a really versatile player. He's giving them everything that we thought or that we wanted Mo Harkless to give them. He's given them some outside shooting. He hasn't shot the lights out, but he's hit threes consistently. There's been a ton of games where Mo Harkless came up with a big goose egg in the stat sheet.
Wide open.
And he's rebounding too, big time. He defends well. He challenges well at the rim. I think he's got good instincts as a defender, and he can get out and run, and he's a little bit better or more athletic finisher than Mo Harkless, which is great when you have guys like De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton leading the break. So I think he's really been a good, jolt to the Kings system here, to their lineup. And I think this is a good start here. This is a good cohesive group. I mean, you saw it tonight. All five starters, 15 points or more.
Yep. That brings me to my next topic, De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton combo. We've been, I guess, originally when Haliburton was drafted, you were critical of the fit between the two. Then we kind of both got on board and were like, oh, maybe these guys can play well together because Tyrese was shooting great from three-point range. He seemed to fit in well. We saw some early season struggles, and then the last two games that Tyrese was out, De'Aaron Fox was balling in those games. Mm-hmm. However, the Kings lost both of those games. This is only one game. It's against the Pistons, which means you have to take everything with a grain of salt at this point.
Yeah.
But I really liked what I saw out of Fox and Haliburton tonight. I thought they played really well together. 19 points for Fox, 17 from Haliburton, 19 combined assists, 5 combined steals from them, 5 turnovers for Haliburton tonight, which is a lot more than I want to see from him, but he had 10 assists, 0 turnovers for De'Aaron Fox tonight. And Fox, you and I had both talked about the key for Fox was taking advantage of the shots that you already have, right? 8 of 19 tonight. That might not sound like, it might not blow you away, but I thought they played really well together tonight, and I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I agree. I think they played very, very well together, and I think that going forward, the more time that they get together, these guys really like each other first and foremost. I think they have a really good chemistry, a really good relationship off the court, which is a big deal. And going forward, I think they're going to figure it out, and they will, ultimately play better together. Mm-hmm. The question is, what does that look like? A lot of people want or expect, rather, De'Aaron Fox to be the man. They expect him to be an all-star. They expect him to score 25, 27 points a game and lead this team.
Yep.
In the ideal relationship between him and Haliburton, in the way that I think they should play, I don't know if De'Aaron Fox is going to put up those numbers unless he dramatically improves his catch and shoot ability, his three-point shooting ability, to where Tyrese can really just run the offense pretty much 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. De'Aaron plays off the ball. He gets good looks from outside because they're running that pick and roll offense. You could have De'Aaron and Harrison Barnes on either end of the court as two really, really capable shooters in the corner. And then after you run that enough times and they start to either trap Tyrese or, pull guys away from the middle of the floor to bring help because Tyrese is getting to the basket and Rashawn's right behind him, that's when you can kick it out to De'Aaron Fox and he either has an open look from three or he gets to the basket really, really easily. And then when Tyrese is on the bench and De'Aaron is out there, obviously you're going to run the ball through him and it's going to be try to get to the basket. But I don't know if that's going to really result in De'Aaron scoring big numbers every single night and averaging, like I said, 25 to 27 points a game. And the question is, A, are you okay with that if you're the Kings? Because you just gave De'Aaron Fox a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
If it results in wins, it's hard to argue that it's not good. But I just foresee every game that I see Tyrese play, he just looks more and more like he is assuming the point guard role on this team. And the ball really should be in his hands a lot because of what he can do individually in terms of getting his own shot. He shot really well from 3 tonight, but also how it translates to the other guys on this team. Richaun Holmes just plays so much better, has such better numbers when Tyrese and him are playing in that pick and roll together. So, you know, I'm kind of like 50-50 on it right now. I think that they will figure out a way to make it look more like this on a consistent basis. The question is, from a GM's perspective or the franchise perspective, is that the direction that you want to go?
Do you think playing with 2 bigs as opposed to 1 in this small lineup is beneficial? Because then both of them have kind of somebody to work with. It gives them a little bit more inside. How do you feel about that?
That's a pretty old school, like traditional NBA offense. And I don't know if that I like that necessarily, just because it doesn't open up the middle of the floor quite enough for both guys to get to the basket as much as they can. I really like Metu at the 4 right now. You know, I don't know if he's going to continue to play like this and be the Kings' long-term answer at power forward, but I think this group, this 5 that they started today, is a good mix right now. I think they should continue to try and play this experiment out.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Metu can play in the pick and roll or pick and pop even better, and he's also a good enough shooter that he can stay out on the outside and space the floor.
Yep. Yeah, Ben, I think all Kings fans would love to have Cat on the team, but I don't know if the Timberwolves are willing to trade that guy.
We'll see. I mean, they're an interesting team. They started off real hot, and now all of a sudden they've fallen apart again.
Yep.
And Anthony Edwards is definitely every bit as good as they expected him to be.
Yep.
So maybe that creates a situation where you're willing to give up another one of their big 3, you know, in D'Angelo Russell or Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and the reason they traded for D'Angelo Russell was to bring him in because Towns and him are friends, and they wanted to play together. So I don't know if they're going to break that up, but I would love to have him on the Kings. I just don't know if it's really realistic at this point.